Hello, I'm making a little video here underneath my 2002 Avalanche. It has an LS1 iron block, and we are under the left-hand side of the engine. You can see the oil filter here, and the video is about this oil cooler takeoff piece that you can see here, and this is sold under the Earl's brand LS0013, and it's an oil cooler takeoff. It's also sold, I've seen this exact same piece under at least one other brand, and it's the exact same thing. So anyways, I bought this unit, and the reason why I'm making this video is because this thing gave me some consternation when I first checked it out, because in order to put the fittings on this thing, the top of the block, this fitting right here, if you put a 90-degree fitting on it, then you'll have a hose angle that is going to be pointing straight forward, which is what I want. And then this outlet fitting right here, the side of this block here, you can get a better look at this if you look at this piece online, but this angle here where this fitting comes out is not 45 degrees. It's angled downward at about 30 degrees. So basically, you can't get a fitting that's going to point straight forward. If you put a 45 on it, it's going to point a few degrees upward. And if you put a 90 on it, like what I have on top here, I have a 90, and if I were to put a 90 here, it would be pointing sharply downward, and then I would just have to, dip the hose back up to get it to go forward, which that's what I've seen other people doing when I had questions about this, and I was able to find a couple of photos online from guys who put one of these in, and they seem to be using a 90 on both ends, and so the 90 on the front end of it here at the angle was just pointing sharply downward, and they were just dealing with that angle by bending the hose, dipping the hose back upward. And well, I didn't like that, but anyways, what I had to find out from my own trial and error here is you can put a 45 on that front, but it's going to angle. It's hard to see it from here, but it's not going straight forward. It's going a little upward, and then you have to dip the hose back down to get it to follow the horizontal line that you want. But it's closer to the direction you want it to go if you use a 45 anyway. And then the other problem is they will actually interfere with each other a little bit, but you can crisscross them. If you can see the perspective here, it kind of looks like, kind of like when you cross your fingers. And so you can crisscross them a little bit and get them out of each other's way. And there's a little bit of room behind here, because the side of the oil pan where the block mounts here, it actually protrudes away from the block. So it's not right up against the block back here. There's room for my fingers back here. So anyway, that's what I ended up doing was I used a 90 on the top, and I used a 45 on the front here on this angle. Now, the thing that I really want to know, though, is, I would want some engineer to explain to me why the heck you couldn't just make that angle there 45. So then if I put a 45-degree fitting on it, it'll point straight forward, which is what everybody's going to want. And, so they made it 30 degrees. And, why? So, well, they only know the reason why. I sure hope it wasn't arbitrary. I sure hope there was a good reason for that, because that is just downright stupid. So anyways, if you buy one of these, that's what you're going to run into. And just to show you what I did with it, I put a 45 on there, and I got it to work. And it's a pretty good unit. It has O-rings. It's got two separate round O-rings that match up to the ports on the side of the oil pan, and you've got two recessed Allen bolts here, and don't over tighten those. They only need about 20 to 22 foot-pounds of torque. There's these plugs. There's a plug here, and there's another plug up in front here, a little Allen plug. You put those in there, and what that's for is if you want a temperature probe, and you can get a temperature probe either before the cooler or after the cooler, and if if you don't want to use a temperature probe, you put those plugs in. And it doesn't leak, and the only issue I had was when I put it on, there was some seepage. And when I looked it over, I realized this piece here, that's the thermostat valve assembly that screws in here. And this thing here was not tight. And I didn't notice that when I put it on there until there was seepage, and I realized this thing here was, it was pretty much just finger snug. It was not tight, and that's where the seepage was coming from. Fortunately, I was able to tighten it down without taking it back off, because that's what it needed. And if I had to take this thing back off after it had oil through it and everything, that would just be a mess. And this is kind of tough getting this all put together. I didn't want to take it off. So anyways, I was able to tighten it down with this little wrench right here. This is a nice little item. If you don't have one of these, you might want to go get one of these. This is made by the Channelock company, if you can see that there. This is made by the Channelock company, and it's a nice little adjustable wrench, and they call it the Code Blue. It says they're Spain, so it's not even made in China. How do you like that? It's made by Channelock, and it's called the Code Blue, and it's an adjustable wrench, but it's kind of a precision adjustable wrench. It has, as you can see, a scale. You've got a metric scale on one side, and you've got an inch scale on the other side, and that gives you, it's a nice little handy tool. If you're underneath something and you've got a fastener of an unknown size, you can hurry up and just kind of use this as a quick and dirty caliper to get yourself a size, so you know what size fastener you have here. But the handle is probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 inches long. It's not really long. It opens up to about 1.5 inches. But the thing about it I like is it has nice narrow jaws, and so this thing will get into a tight spot, and that was what I needed here, because in order to turn this thing, I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, in order to turn this thing here, you needed a slender wrench, because it's right up against the bell housing there. So that enabled me to tighten that up really quick with my handy little wrench. So it's a nice little tool. Anyways, just one other thing. I'm going to get out from under here. And that's the cooler. And this is a stack plate cooler, and the reason why this thing here, I had a tough time getting this. I originally had one just like it from J.C. Whitney a long time ago, and it got damaged because it was on there for over 15 years. And what happened was, when I had to take the fittings off, one of them was jammed, and I ended up slightly twisting and damaging it with wrench torque. So I had to get another one. I couldn't find another one of these, and they're sold. The same item is sold under a brand called AFCO, and AFCO couldn't deliver one to Speedway Motors, which is the vendor that carries them, but they said the back order was indefinite, and they canceled the order after I waited like a couple of months. And then I realized it's got a brand name on it that says Long, and you probably can't see it, but it says Long. It's stamped in there. And I looked, and there's a place called Race Ready Products in California that carried these, and it's the exact one I needed. And I needed this one because it has the brackets on the top and bottom. It's a stack plate cooler, and these things all come in, they come in one width and one thickness, and then the height changes according to how many plates they stack up on here. And this is the 36 plate model, and you know, I just needed this because it fit the dimensions, and I needed the brackets on the top and on the bottom. If you can see them there, there's a mounting bolt under there, and that's what I needed just to match up with what I had for mounting material here. So anyways, it was like about 87 bucks. And the other thing is I had an issue with is this thing is all full of air when you first put it on there, and there's no way to really fill it up with oil and purge all that air out. And I was really concerned The takeoff, the Earl's takeoff, is thermostatic. And so it doesn't send anything to the cooler until the engine gets up to temperature and the oil is hot enough. And the thing about it, I was worried, there would be all kinds of air coming through all at once, but that was not a problem. And the reason why is because the valve assembly, it opens gradually. So what happens is it just starts to open gradually and the engine's running. I'm watching the oil pressure. I'm ready to shut it off if there's a big drop. And it never happened, because it opens gradually and it starts bringing in a little at a time. And so it slowly purges the air out of it without interrupting your oil pressure. And so it ran pretty smooth and seamless on that. So there you go. That's how I put in an oil cooler on this. And I had, like I say, I had this oil cooler on here, same thing, a long time ago. But instead I had the stock GM takeoff instead of the Earl's takeoff. And that takeoff is not thermostatically controlled. It's just full time. And the GM takeoff is made to go to an intercooler inside of the radiator. And I modified it to go to a cooler like this. And like I say, I messed it up and I had to get another one. And then I went to the thermostatic takeoff. And then, like I say, I had trouble with the angles on that. And that's how I sorted it out. So now I got an oil cooler on it. So, yeah, that's all I got on that. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.